To travel is to collect experiences. So while you can choose a familiar destination where you can get what you expect, you can drop down instead in the middle of the tropics. Malaysia's nature is fantastic. And even though it is preserved by strict environmental laws, tourists are allowed to visit some of the most protected areas. Malaysia has combined preservation with sensitive utilization and believes tourism can help finance conservation. Located in the heart of Southeast Asia, Malaysia consists of the Malay Peninsula and the states of Sarawak and Sabah on the island of Borneo. Our visit begins on the mainland in a very busy place, Kuala Lumpur, the capital city. More than 1.5 million people. Malaysia's total population is more than 19 million, made up of a diverse combination of races and ethnic groups. Mainly Malays, Chinese, and Indians, as well as indigenous groups. All over the country, we see signs of how a progressive Malaysia is investing heavily in the future, and tourism is part of the plan. But the old traditions and heritage are preserved. Progress and preservation, hand in hand. Now to a less busy place. In the South China Sea lies the island of Pulau Aur, so small that it's not even marked on many maps. Around here, everyone lives off the sea. Divers come here, sport fishermen come here, and the income from these visitors is vital to the island. The sport fishermen come here for a fight with the billfish, sailfish, and marlin, giants of the sea. 2 boats leave the island early in the morning with our Swedish expedition group of 8 people who have a wide range of sport fishing experience. To maintain the population of these billfish, the guides here have introduced tag and release in cooperation with the Billfish Foundation in Florida, which is carrying out a study of these fish. The fish is tagged with a number and the organization's address. This is a sailfish. Then it is time to let go of the fish's spear. There are no luxury powerboats around here offering high-speed trolling. On these worn wooden boats, good old-fashioned angling prevails. Small fish as bait and balloons as floats. But it's no less exciting because of that. On the contrary.
Whoa! No, big one!
And there aren't only billfish here. The Dorado, also called dolphin.
Bye-bye.
Spansk makrill.
The Remora's suction organ helps it to hitch a free ride on bigger fish. The garfish with its green teeth.
Looks monstrous.
Pump it up.
Barracuda. fastest in the sea, the sailfish.
Det börjar bli lite oroväckande dåligt med lina här alltså. Mjölksyra redan.
If the fish had been tagged, Peo would have gotten a nice certificate from the Billfish Foundation. As it is now, all he gets is his hook back. And what about marlin?
When we fish marlin here, we use a mustard big game catch and release hook, which I normally use size 5.0. And this hook is biodegradable within 48 hours if it is left into certain parts of the marlin.
That's right, a hook that dissolves in 48 hours. It's a Norwegian invention. No need to worry now if a line snaps. And the greatest risk of that is when you encounter the marlin, possibly the strongest fish of all.
Hook up. Don't work you. Let it go. Let it go. Yeah.
So we put our strongest onto this job, Mats, the pike fisherman.
Whoa!
It's a marlin, all right, and a black marlin at that, which is the largest of the 4 species. White is the smallest. Then there's striped, blue, and black, which can be 5 meters long. Congratulations, Mats. 1.7 meters.
Är det som en gädda nu?
Lite starkare än gäddorna får man ju säga. Helt otroligt omöjligt att få in en meter. Fribromsen är dragen i botten.
The first hour is spent just holding the rod, letting the fish jump till it's tired. Then it's time for Mats to really start working.
Okej, Mats. Jobba, jobba, jobba. Heja, heja, jobba, jobba. Bam, med det.
Det är inte bara fisken, det är ju 40 grader varmt.
Oh, you look like Elton John.
Going down.
A black marlin can weigh a ton, but not in this area. The record here is only 240 pounds. Nobody knows why, and nobody knows where it goes to grow. That's what the Billfish Foundation wants to find out. After 2 hours, Mats wants to harness. His back can't take anymore. But suddenly it gets away. It's over. He gets back bait leftovers and the hook, of course, which still has 46 hours life left in it. But no certificate.
Antiklimax det, som man kan säga. 2 timmar och så går den iväg.
Fights like this show on you.
Marlin!
Marlin là det.
Marlin!
The northern states of Borneo, Sarawak, and Sabah belong to Malaysia. Here we'll visit one of Malaysia's oldest ethnic groups, descendants of the headhunters. In these areas, you risked losing your head not so long time ago. The Ebons live here. The Ebons were the most feared of all headhunters. Today, they're very hospitable and happy to share with visitors their traditional dancing and music, a memory of more dangerous times. One-third of the population in Sarawak are Ebon, and most people still live on the riverbanks in what are known as long houses. All the families live under the same roof. When their numbers grow, they just extend a house. Roughly 200 people live here from cultivation, hunting, fishing, and increasingly the selling of handicrafts to tourists. The Ebons were headhunters until as late as the 1950s. In the old days, a young man couldn't propose to a girl until he had taken at least one human head. The Ebons set out on expeditions for the sole purpose of hunting heads. The trophies were prepared by the women and hung in the longhouse to bring health, fortune, and good rice harvest to their owner and his family. Now the heads are gone and replaced by international football stars, like the Swedes Brolin and Ravelli. Could you play football here? Borneo doesn't have many flat surfaces, so this might have to do. Or what's this? Brave guide, because don't you think there are leeches here? Here's a leech that lives on land, seen at a comfortable distance, but there are nicer animals to look at. The white paradise flycatcher. A very colorful kingfisher. Wow, an Exposus scotus rolus. Perhaps. In the mangrove forest, it's at low tide that the funny creatures appear. The fiddler crab, for example. When it senses danger, it's as quick as lightning. The mud skipper doesn't know what danger is. And the hermit crab, which is perfectly formed for a shell it only borrows. In Malaysia, you'll find many species of the pitcher plant. They are very special plants, whose beauty and nectar attract insects that slip down the pitcher and are dissolved by enzymes in its fluid. That's why they're also known as carnivorous plants. Pitcher plants live on the nutrients they get from both insects and from their roots. Here lives an animal which isn't found anywhere else on Earth, but they're hard to get close to. You must have a good guide, big ears and big eyes. Then you might get a glimpse of them. The proboscis monkeys. Why they have such big noses is an unsolved mystery. And special bacteria in their big stomachs break down their food, which is mostly poisonous leaves, fruit, and seeds. A lethal diet for other animals, so they can keep it all for themselves. When they're not eating, their time is spent resting or fooling around. In the state of Sabah, in Sepalok, we meet perhaps the best-loved character in Malaysia. The orangutan, of course, or man of the forest, which is what the name literally means. They were originally found all over Southeast Asia, but now only on Borneo and Sumatra. They're not at all as shy as the proboscis monkeys, a bit timid perhaps, but very affectionate. That's why they've always been captured to be pets. That, together with man's need for land, has been devastating for the orangutan. In 1963, Malaysia prohibited owning or trading in orangutans. What you see here is really a rehabilitation center for orangutans that have been rescued from people who defied that law. Here, orangutans are trained to be wild again, to climb, build nests, and look for food. Finding food for themselves is what takes these men of the forest longest to learn. On the platform, they get bananas and milk twice a day, and small monkeys keep the orangutans on the alert. Nothing but bananas and milk gets pretty boring after a time. They're not even the orangutan's favorite food. And that's how the project works, because in the end, they get so fed up with bananas and milk that they escape into the woods. Their adaptation takes longer because of the presence of tourists. But on the other hand, they're the ones that help finance the project. We have to be able to work from both ends. The same method is being used in a small national park consisting of 3 small islands called the Turtle Islands. Here, the show starts at night. 20 paying tourists each night are allowed to witness the turtles crawling up the beach to lay their eggs. And it's guaranteed to happen every night. There are 7 species in the world. 4 of them can be found in Malaysia, where they're fully protected by law. This one is a green turtle, and it can lay up to 190 eggs. And this is a good place to do it in. There are 8 park rangers to watch over the laying and hatching. One hour after she came out of the sea, the eggs are laid and covered up. And then the ranger comes with his marking plier. It's time for the turtle to sacrifice a minute to science. Then she is done. But the ranger isn't. He uncovers the eggs because they're going to be moved to a safer place, better protected against monitor lizards, for example, and humans, since these eggs are regarded as delicacies. This is one of the reasons why turtles are endangered. They're also hunted for their meat, and the shell is a coveted souvenir. And if it's not the hunting, it's our pollution that kills. Oil, most definitely, but also plastic bags and such like that are thrown away thoughtlessly and eaten in the belief that they are jellyfish. These have existed since the time of the dinosaurs, for 150 million years, without any great change. So this is a reptile with a perfect design for survival, man permitting. This is where it's going to happen. In an enclosed part of the beach, the eggs are sorted according to date, and a steel net protects them from burrowing egg lovers. It takes about 2 months for them to hatch, but there are so many batches here that every night is the right time somewhere.
Här kommer de. Åh, de är alldeles varma. Ja. Åh. De har hårt skal också innan de kommer direkt här. Vinky vink. Oj, nej. Oj, nej, neråt var det.
Direction is no problem for them. They all know it. Well, almost all. Our lamp disorients them because instinct tells them to crawl towards the light, and that's usually the sky above the sea. The baby turtles are released in different places as to not to teach the fish and the birds where there's food. Normally, only a few % will grow up anyway. So we wish them luck. Back to the mainland, to an area in the rainforest drained by 160 rivers. Here, dams and a hydroelectric power station were built in the early 1980s. The result was a huge artificial lake, Kingyur, a really thrilling place.
Det är så konstigt, i varje vik här så finns det ännu en vik innanför och ännu en vik innanför.
There are many places here where you can visit the dark interiors of Malaysia. You don't have to be an expert on cave fauna to know what to expect. The creeps factor is very high. Sure, caves can be fun if you enter them with the right attitude.
Åh! Hon är där inne. Nej, kolla där! Kom in. Där inne i, där, uppe i där. Åh, en sån jätte.
Rör den här inte bara. Det är spindelbo. Det är ungefär 100 spindlar.
If you don't watch your fingers here, you can be badly bitten. By a cave crab, for example. Climbing in the dark is an experience of controlled horror. You don't always know what you're stepping on or putting your hands on, or what might be hanging above your head. Quite harmless, but pretty numerous. Where there are bats, there are also those who eat bats. A Malaysian striped, tailed racer snake. Fresh air and the sun. That's best for humans. Well, wasn't she tough, our 14-year-old Ulrika?
Det var skönt att komma ut i friska luften.
Even the rain feels good. The Malaysian rainforest is in fact the world's oldest, 130 million years, and it's enormously rich in species. The national flower is the hibiscus, which attracts many of the country's 1,300 species of butterflies. 25 centimeters across, Atlas is the largest among the 8,000 species of moths. "200 species of snakes and lizards crawl around here. Monitor lizards are common. Heaven for ornithologists, more than 600 bird species, where the hornbill is the king. The pride of Malaysia. We get a real kick out of seeing so many fascinating animals in their natural habitat. Like the world's largest walking stick, you just can't resist touching it. And sometimes it's just as easy not to. Only the guides know how to pick up a scorpion. So don't come here wearing sandals. And there are big mammals here too, but not easy to find. Species of elephant, rhino, tapir, bear, leopard, and if you're extremely lucky or unlucky, you'll run into a tiger here. People who live here can tell you how absolutely terrifying the rainforest can be. They have a saying, a man who's seen a tiger won't eat for a week. The rainforest people live from hunting and fishing. The hunting is still done with blowpipes and poisoned arrows, and it takes your entire childhood to learn how to do it. The main dish is small monkeys, so you must be able to hit the target at 50 meters. Kingyur hides many secrets beneath its surface. Around 300 species of fish live in the drowned rainforest. Some are known to science, some not. There's a catfish here that can weigh 200 pounds, but we're more interested in a fish that none of us have ever seen, only heard of, the snakehead.
De här rovfiskarna verkar hugga på i princip vad som helst. Lokalbefolkningen, de föredrar en hel fisk som agn. Men det går alldeles utmärkt med skeddrag, spinnare eller wobbler.
The problem isn't getting them to bite, it's getting them up from between all those dead trees. If you don't take charge at once, they dive down and get entangled in the branches. This is difficult.
Vanligt.
There are 3 species of snakehead in Africa and a total of 18 in Asia. This one grows the biggest at 40 pounds.
Kanske inte den största, men den första. Oh, catch and release.
You can locate it when it surfaces to breathe, but it has jaws that will cut steel wire.
Åh! Vilken oerhört brutal fisk. Det är någon slags sötvattensmonster.
The look that gave it its name.
Snakehead är ganska taskigt namn tycker jag.
With a fin and colors like these, maybe it should be called rainbowback. As it has plurals, it can easily manage time for a chat on land.
Och så färgskimret med.
And soon Ulrika invents a totally new way of striking, the helicopter. We haven't seen her this wild before. 6 times so far, she's failed to catch the snakehead.
Snälla gode. Det går inte.
Jo då, kom igen. Kom igen. Försiktigt. Lyft inte upp den. Han bara tröttnar nu.
Men jag kan backa lite då. Kolla tänderna.
Det går bra. Upp med spett. Och så veva inte med den. Inte med den.
Det kommer inte gå.
Jo då. Upp med spett. Kan han byta?
Kan man inte vrida åt bromsen lite bara?
Jo, backa. Bra. Inte veva nu, inte mer. Lite mer, veva.
Det är ingen liten gris.
Jag har fått den!
Det är 5950 med den här.
5 och 9.
Ja, 5 och 9.
7 gånger.
Den är prick 80.
A new record and a memory for life.
Min lilla pojke. Lennit.
Du vet hur det känns att vara fisk, va?